Don't forget to check out Nerd to Know Bases here on Phoenix 92.5 FM with myself, Darragh O'Connor, and Bryn O'Rourke for everything nerd culture, video games, comics, and so much more. That's Nerd to Know Bases, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. every Saturday here on 92.5 Phoenix FM.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Sparta! All your days are belong to us. It's a trap 9000! Stop collecting all of us. Leave Benny alone! Leroy Dragon! Objection! The balls are inert. Time to Vicinity Sedan.
And now it begins.
Alright guys, you're listening to Phoenix 92.5 FM, you're listening to Nerd to Know Basis, number 15, if you're listening to us on the podcast over on Nerd to Know Media, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that podcasts are stored, you can check us out. My name is Darragh O'Connor and I'm joined on the line by my co-host, Mr. Bryn O'Rourke. Bryn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. So we're recording this before Christmas. So what we're going to do is, going ahead into the new year, we have some changes coming to the way we do Nerd to Know media, and some other with our slot on Phoenix FM as well as it relates to the desk. We're going to keep that under wraps for the time being, but we should be working through those steps relatively quickly, right?
Yeah. We should be should have some really interesting news coming up soon enough in the new year. It's good. It's going to be the year of the nerd.
And not the angry video game nerd.
No.
But no, it's pretty cool. Like the Nerd to Know Media feed, I try to put as much content on as we can. We have a lot of cons coming up next year as well, so there will be more content there as well. So if you guys haven't subscribed, go over and subscribe as soon as you can for new content at least once a week. The wrestling show, that's kind of on the back burner. Some people have asked about that, but hey, don't worry, we have a replacement for that relatively soon. But Nerd to Know Media and Nerd to Know Bases is kind of our main focus now at this point. To be honest with you, we've done the wrestling show for about 8-9 years, so it's kind of like
there's only so much you can say negatively.
Yeah, look
about a single company.
Look,
we go like, I'm kind of bored saying those things.
Yeah, look, we said it's a legacy show, so when something big happens, we'll jump on. We might do the occasional show, the occasional interview. I probably will continue to do some DVD reviews or something, but as far as a week-to-week show moaning about how bad WWE is, I'm like, listen, there's loads of shows that do that. You know, I don't really want to do that anymore. Well, as much as week to week, it's just not super fun. But between what we have coming up in 2019 and what we and also with our partnerships with Mike Freeland's show, we'll be fine. As far as content's going to be continued to deliver to Phoenix FM as well. So just don't worry about that, guys. We're not going anywhere as such in that regard. And hey, even we have 2 slots a week, so we might pump out another Nerd to Know if calls for it. We'll just kind of see how it goes when we get into the new year. But tonight, Bryn, we have an interesting show. As much as it's a different kind of format for us, it's a first for us. The show we've only been doing since the middle of the year, I want to say.
Yeah, I'd say about I think, God, when did they pick up? Around September, I think.
Yeah,
maybe?
So we haven't. Well, it was it was after Comic-Con, so August.
That's right. Yeah, so August. Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't been doing it that long, but I think we've kind of found our format, which is cool. Yeah. But now with Nerd to Know Media, this is going to be the first annual Nerd to Know Media Awards.
Oh yeah,
on our award show. So next year we'll have a fancy graphic and everything. But until then,
We might even get some guests to do some awards for us.
Yeah, yes. So let us know what you think, guys, and we'll build this out. But we're talking about this in work today. It's like, all right, it's gone and during the week. So we have a couple of topics. And obviously, I will touch on a review of Aquaman and our thoughts on Spider-Verse without spoilers because Bryn hasn't seen either. Boo, Bryn.
I'm sorry that I have a life.
I have a life too, but it comes secondary to So
sleep comes secondary to movies for you.
What did I say in work today? Sleep is for the weak. You can do so much more when you don't sleep. So I don't know. That pill that they invent in American Dad, that needs to be a thing that happens. 2019, make it happen. By the way, speaking of science experiments that seems crazy and out of this world, they have actually... There was a piece in the news today that scientists believe that real dinosaurs might be a thing in at least 5 years.
The excitement that came through Dara was palpable.
we were sitting in the canteen today, and I'm like, "Oh my god, guys, this is unreal!" And then you're like, "Did they not watch Jurassic Park?" And the movie, and it's like
they were so busy thinking about what they could that they didn't consider whether they should.
Like the whole theme of that movie is, do not do this. This is a bad idea, and this never works out.
Yeah.
So,
but it's more like just like, yeah, you know, things like this are like a great achievement and everything, but is it really necessary for us to go down this route? You know, in the same way that Event Horizon is asking the question: is it really necessary to try and poke a hole through space? Like,
well, if you want to get into the chaos dimension, then yes.
Yeah, but there's nothing there except for the warp. So no.
Yeah, but then we get a 40k universe, so it's all good.
Yeah, but no.
No. Nobody wants an Event Horizon future. Great movie, a really, really good movie. You know, a lot of people do think that it does actually kind of stack up that it's a 40k prequel. It makes an awful lot of sense.
Yeah, but it's kind of like this perfect like nexus point between being like a sci-fi Hellraiser and being a thing for and being a prequel for the whole 40k thing. And it does make it genuinely does like elevate it from being just like a run of the mill sci-fi horror film into being something that's kind of like interesting because of it, in my opinion. Anyway,
well, dude, Sam Neill's in it, and anything Sam Neill's in, I'm like, I am in here so much because that man is just so cool. It's not even funny.
But it's like, what was that film that he did? At the Mouths of Madness.
Oh yes, what a film.
Great.
What a film. One of John Carpenter's lesser known masterpieces. It might be.
Yeah.
If I can only watch one John Carpenter movie for the rest of my life,
it's They Live.
No, it's actually at the Mountains of Madness. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, and
it's so great.
Listen, The Thing, They Live, and At the Mount of Madness, or Mountains of Madness.
Trilogy. It's a
great trilogy. But it's such a hard thing to pick from because I will watch all of those in different ways, but I just like that one the most.
Actually, that's something. I would watch those three films over watching as a trilogy over watching just about any franchise you could name.
Oh yeah, that's fair. And I think the reason why is because of how varied it is and because they're all such a high point of the genres.
Yeah, like, I mean, because you could go, well, yeah, they're all fun, they're all kind of different. And you go, well, do you want to watch Lord of the Rings? It's like, well, Lord of the Rings is tiring and I like really have to pay attention. Like,
well, actually, funny story, right? So have you seen the Tenable Lads based on They Live?
No, I have not seen.
Okay, so we're going to break the fourth wall a bit. Guys, myself and Bryn, we work for a company called Tenable, cybersecurity company. They invented Nessus. They're pretty awesome. But they had to stay at one of their ad campaigns like 2 years ago was based on They Live.
Really?
Yeah, so you put on so they put on the glasses. And it was saying they're like the Nessus glasses, and it's like, can you see your attack surfaces? or can you see your vulnerabilities? With Nessus, you can, and you pop them on, and it's pretty cool. I'll send it to you over PM.
That's actually really interesting. But like, I mean, like I've seen They Live has been used a lot in like advertising for a lot of different things.
Oh yeah, it's such a good message, as far as if you want to break through that kind of that use as archetypes, has been able to see, and I've seen it been used on everything. But for anyone who hasn't seen They Live, sorry Brent for interrupting you. It's a movie about a construction worker played by Roddy Piper, and things are kind of weird. And he doesn't know what's going on. He finds these guys.
Big city because there's been a recession.
Yeah.
So he had to move away from his like rural town, I think is what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he has to find these. He finds these glasses, which allows him to see things as they actually are.
Yeah.
And
messages in advertising.
Yeah.
Like all this kind of thing. And it turns out there's like this. There's this like conspiracy plot to take over the world. It's really fun. And, yeah. Like but it's also an interesting film because like it sold really, really well at the box office and then was basically shown nowhere really, really quickly because it was so heavily anti-consumerism. It
is. Well, a lot of messages are, in
Reagan era USA, oh, it's awesome.
Well, I just looked up that ad now, and it still exists on Vimeo. So if you type in "Terrible Day Live," you'll be able to find it. It's actually one of my favorite ads ever, and I hate ads. But actually, when I started working for that company, it was one of the things that popped up on my YouTube pre-roll ads. Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is actually cool. It's a really clever ad campaign, But yeah, so watch They Live, guys. Actually, if you haven't, go for it.
Speaking of very cool ad campaigns.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you guys listening have seen it or not. But
so good.
There was this amazing ad that came out recently.
Dropped last night. So we're recording this on the 20th. So it dropped around the 19th.
Yeah. So like. Basically, Macaulay Culkin did an ad for some home automation. I think it was a Google.
It was Google Home.
Google Home, yeah. So,
hold on, just to put this into perspective, this worked so well that my sister asked me for a Google Home for Christmas.
Yep.
Today, literally before we started recording, because of that ad. I'm like, wow.
That's the power of marketing right there.
But so, loves Home Alone. Who doesn't?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because Home Alone's one of those films that's like pretty much perfect.
Yeah, in every way.
Like basically, so like Macaulay Culkin is playing like adult version Kevin McAllister. Comes in, he's like, "Mom, Dad, where are you?" And then it's like. He goes like, "Hey, okay, Google, what's my calendar for today?" And it's like, "You're home alone," or whatever it said. So he's there, starts jumping up and down his bed. He's like, "Hey, Google, remind me to make
clean the sheets."
Like, I'm putting a note in your calendar, and then he touches his hip in pain, and it's just such a nice touch. There's like it just like goes through like the greatest hits of the film, basically in like a 90-second ad. It's awesome. Find it on YouTube. Macaulay Culkin, Google Home. It's amazing. You have to see it. It's so great.
But here's the thing: Macaulay Culkin has made a renaissance lately by just appearing on random YouTube videos. So he first appeared on a Red Letter Media reviewing Hackers, which was like out of nowhere. He just shows up. He's like, "Hey, I'm Macaulay Culkin, and let's review Hackers." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great." Then he showed up. Sorry, go for it.
What was that? I remember he had an initial resurgence back. Was it like a year, 2 years ago, where he did a viral video thing, where like he played an Uber driver.
Yeah. But he still looked really rough. He still looked really, really rough then, though.
Yeah, yeah. Like in the Google Home video, you have to remember as well. He's definitely touched up.
Yeah, because like I saw him on the AVGN Angry Video Game Nerd recently, where he was reviewing all the Home Alone movies with the nerd, and he was playing the Pizza Boy.
Oh boy,
it's very good. But he still looks very rough. So when I saw the Google Home video, I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
They really,
heavily touched up.
they really touched him up here because you know he doesn't really look like that anymore. But to be fair, he doesn't. He looks healthier now anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. What I think they're angling here is because apparently reports came out that, or not reports came out, he did actually say that he was offered a role in The Big Bang Theory 3 separate times. And he said, yeah, I can make millions, I could have millions more dollars in my bank account right now, but I also have to smash my head off the wall.
Yep.
It's like, wow, what a cool guy.
Yeah.
But so the thing about it is, it seems like I would not be shocked if Home Alone comes out. A new Home Alone comes out.
Revisited comes out.
Yeah, because like that series dies a horrific death after the second one.
Yep.
And I would not be surprised if they did some kind of soft reboot. We were talking about this again at work today. I don't know. I would not be shocked.
The recurring theme in work for us to talk about different things that could get soft reboots.
But like,
speaking of soft reboots, there was news about Star Wars today too.
yeah. So
a segue like this, it's
yeah, it was good. It's very good. It's very good. So yeah, like the news that came out was that there was not so much a soft reboot as such in the initial statement. So what they said was they're going to give fans a time to heal, which is a really weird way to put it. 'Cause they cancelled Lego Star Wars Day, right? Which is a day that they do every year for the past couple of years, where it's like, oh, here, play with the Lego Millennium Falcon, blah blah blah. But that's cancelled, right?
Yeah.
And it seems now that the news on the wire is that they're going to really kind of put the brakes on Star Wars.
Yeah, well, that's a good decision considering, like,
it's a dead franchise.
Yeah, well, it's also like, the any additions they make to the episodic films are greeted with nothing but abuse, and the other films that they bring out that are standalone films are treated with nothing but indifference. So, yeah, it's probably the best decision they could make outside of what we've talked about. I think we've even talked about it here, which is the perfect way that they could reboot the whole thing in episode 9.
Well, for anyone who hasn't listened, or maybe it's their first time, outline our perfect way to reboot the Star Wars universe.
So, for the people who are old enough to understand this reference, so if you remember that infamous scene in Dallas where there's like a shower. So just imagine it's kind of like a, this kind of like a Star Wars-esque shower, and it gets pulled open. There's a horrifically gruff-looking Luke Skywalker. He's greeted out by Mara Jade, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, "Oh, Luke, I had a horrible dream." And it's breaking down. The whole thing's like, and Han got stabbed, and it didn't really make a lot of sense. And then there was this girl, and she was able to do anything she wanted. And it's like, that's not how the Force works. And I don't think, hey, shh, calm down.
It's over now. And he just walks out, and he's met by Kyle Katarn, and then the series just follows Kyle Katarn, and there you go, it's fixed. That's how you do it.
And then it immediately goes into like doing its opening crawl, and away we go. And
yeah, it's just
you're fine then.
Yeah, just make a Kyle Katarn series, and you never have to actually show them again. It's just Kyle Katarn. There you go, and then he can go off and do anything else. And it's
Kyle Katarn and Dash Render's Wild Adventures.
Oh my god, Dash Render! It's like, there you go. You don't actually have to do anything else. Just do that, and then it will all be fixed. Because I don't know what they're going to do with episode 9, but that's,
to be honest, if it's anything less than that, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Like, they're talking about bringing time travel in, so some way they will get back to undoing everything that was done so far. The shower scene makes way more sense, because people will be like, okay, that's kind of dumb, but all the nonsense is gone now.
I'm going to allow this.
I'm going to allow this. Everybody collectively will be like, wait, so we get Kyle Katarn back and we get Dash Render back? Okay, fine. Right, it's okay.
Oh man, that
maybe just off camera you have like Jar Jar and Carbonite, they're just walking by it, and then everybody would be happy. It's just like, okay, grand.
Oh no, I think there should be like a mount on a wall of Jar Jar. maybe the best thing.
But like,
It's more fitting. Like, at least if he's frozen at carbonite, there's always a chance he might come back.
That's true. That's true. But see, Disney need to understand that the only thing that will save Star Wars here is by fundamentally undoing everything that they've done since buying Star Wars.
Yeah, basically.
Like, because if they don't, I don't think that there's any future here. So, like, yeah, they spent a lot of money on it, but they fundamentally don't understand what people wanted in it. They don't just want the same thing again, and it's not because, Rey's a woman. Okay, that's not the issue. We're talking about Mara Jade. Mara Jade's one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. And she's a very, very, very incredibly strong female character, but she's a actual realistic female character who makes sense and does things that is, in that universe, possible. It's not just ridiculous. Kal-Katan's apprentice, also a woman. Yeah. It's just like, come on.
It's actually very funny how, like, the expanded universe is so is so much more balanced than the original trilogy was.
Yeah, like, because it's funny, all the problems that people bring up about the original movies, they were all corrected in the comics and the games and the books.
Expanded universe, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, so that's when people bitch about Star Wars. I'm like, okay, right, the original series was very small in focus. But did you read the rest of the material? No. Okay, well, maybe do that and then go back to me. It's like, because what I think would be a good idea, and I've always said this, even before Disney bought Star Wars, the expanded universe for me was always way more interesting, with the exception of Kal-Katan series and I, Jedi, which is the best Star Wars story ever told. I, Jedi, the book's just so good. Anyway, that aside, that's my favorite. The only thing that I really kind of gravitate towards is his stuff, post saga. Everything that appeals to me, in the Star Wars universe is way before the movies. So we're talking Old Republic kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you're talking like Exar Kun and Revan. Yeah,
Exar Kun, Revan, the Mandalorian Wars, even the Old Republic in general. There's so much they can do there that wouldn't really irritate the fans. I just, I get it, right? You want familiarity, so you want the stormtroopers, you want the Jedi stuff, you want the music, but that's tapped out now. That's totally gone. Like, there's no point just smacking it out and hoping stuff comes out, because it's done now. The hope of it is to reset and go forward, but like really go forward, or else go back and go back way before, because you can take a Star Wars movie in the Old Republic on Dantooine in the Jedi Academy and make a series on that, do a YA series on that. No one is thinking. They're all just like, let's play it safe, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I think especially when there's such a body of work, and especially when I think the first 6 episodes exist in such a vacuum.
Yeah.
That, like, there's no real point doing anything else with them. You're probably better off just like kind of go, okay, we've got the Star Wars IP. Where do we go from here? Well, what lore is there that we can do something with? Okay, the Hutts are gangsters. Can we do the Godfather but on Tatooine? I don't see a reason why not. Oh, okay, let's do the Godfather on Tatooine. Do like a political espionage thriller on Coruscant. Well, look, they're releasing this Mandalore TV show, right? Yep,
that's great idea. Why do it? Why set it during the Intergalactic Civil War? Don't set it in the Old Republic, or set it before the events of.
Set it when it's tribal.
He could do a whole Mandalore series where you can start in Malachor 5, follow the battle of what the Mandalorians are, and then go up towards the prequels, and then do it before the prequels, and that way you get away from the chains of the Star Wars movies. Like, I watched a really good piece on it. You guys can Google it. It's all about tropisms and codified language, but about the music in Star Wars. So the main thesis is that The Last Jedi and even The Force Awakens did nothing new with music, and by doing that, it's very, very stale. And it's like, well, that's actually a very, very good point. And basically he was like, look, we need to kind of undo things to kind of make them new. And as well as, like, you know, not just taking away the crawl in Rogue One. That wasn't enough because the music was the same. You know, here's the thing about Marvel. People are like, well, why do people like Marvel over Star Wars? It's because in the Marvel universe, they understand a very real truism that you can have a series of films doing different things in different genres. Like in Star Wars, you can have, as you said, a gangster film.
Yep.
You can have an all-out, balls-to-the-wall action. You can have a futuristic romantic comedy. You can have a way. It's just no one actually thinks this true.
Yeah, well, I think as well, especially comparing it to the Marvel films, like there's a couple of things that are like at play as well. Like first of all, like the comic creators have a bit more of a way in with overseeing the actual storyline being unfolded, and that definitely helps with it. One of the things that also helps is that, like, they kind of go, okay, well, what do we want to hold sacred to, and what can we afford to bend, and what can we absolutely afford to break? You know, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't 1-to-1 with the comics universe. You know, like one of the first examples that comes to mind is the fact that the Mandarin is not at all representative of what the character is in the books. Like remotely, you know,
but that worked. That worked so well. You know?
It works in the story that they were telling. You know, for the story.
To be honest with you, I prefer it.
I prefer. I think it works for what they were doing. There are versions of the OG Mandarin that I prefer, but it is what it is. I'm kind of. Like I'm very 6 of one, half dozen of another, because like I think introducing I don't think that because of the other characters they have, introducing magic into an Iron Man film is a bad move, but because it just kind of thematically throws everything else out of whack. But in the books you have that freedom though to kind of have him have a magical enemy, because it brings up a whole magic versus, like, it brings up ancient wisdom versus current day knowledge, and magic versus technology, and themes like that, and that can be really, really fun. But outside of, like, especially when you're kind of having Stark exist in a much wider universe, can't really do that with his films. It has to be much more constrained, because his whole thing is like the idea of like the restraint of new technologies is kind of like the theme of his films, you know? Because like a lot of the magic stuff they saved for Thor.
Yeah. You know, I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a
thing. It is. It's neither good nor bad.
But the thing about it is, with the Marvel Universe, like, they've established that there are a multiverse. Yep. You know, and look, not to get too much philosophical into it, but there probably is a multiverse in general, right?
Yeah. There's a greater probability of it than there is anything than the alternative.
Yeah, string theory makes more sense to me than anything else, and there probably is. So, you know. And in Star Wars as well, they've done that. They've set that up. That's the thing that happens thanks to Rebels and Dave Filoni, who, you know, people will be like, well, why isn't he running things? Well, he might actually eventually, because Dave Filoni's awesome. He's the guy behind Rebels. He's the guy behind Clone Wars. He's pretty much the only logical true line in the Star Wars universe nowadays. It's because he's there going, hey,
I'm kind of like Bruce Timm for Warner Brothers and DC.
Yeah, and he's also kind of who's the guy that's running Marvel?
No, it's not. It's the cinematic universe is run by. Oh man, why can't I think of his name?
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. Who's awesome?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. MC.
Good podcast, aren't we? We're just so good at our job.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, this is not a ninja Google. Right?
Okay, hold on. Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
Kevin Feige. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Kevin Feige.
So good at our job.
Well, he's really good at his job, and that's all that matters. So Kevin Feige was running behind the scenes of from the very beginning with X-Men, right? So he was there kind of at Fox going, hey guys, maybe you should make this better and you should add in bits and pieces and that. And then eventually he got the reins to go for this gung-ho. I think the same thing will happen with David Fellini, where it's like, hey, we've kind of messed this up a bit. Do you want to fix it? And he was like, yeah.
As well as that, like when they gave him Rebels, like they were just still like building up their Star Wars IPs, and they kind of went, "Go nuts, dude!" Like it's very clear because like brought in like so much like expanded universe lore into it, like where you had the likes of you had the likes of the holocrons and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Like it was it was such a good addition to it. Hopefully they're able to kind of figure out where the Star Wars IP sits in this current day and age, but I think it's kind of telling when it feels like they rushed Solo out in hindsight.
Yeah, they did.
And I don't think that if I had 6 months extra time for shooting and editing, that it would have been a better film. Like, I think that film was as good as it was ever going to be. And it wasn't, it's not like offensive or anything. It's just not a really good film. It's fine.
Yeah. But see, the difference now is fine movies don't make money.
Well, it depends. Like, I would describe the Transformers films as fine films.
There's a difference there. I mean, that's unfair. That's unfair. No, I mean, like, fine Star Wars movies don't make money.
No.
Right, and the reason because, okay, if Star Wars came out and made a couple of movies that didn't offend the entire fan base, they could probably get away with making one or two fine movies, right?
Yeah, totally.
But all the movies are off right now.
So you get it. Wanna talk about so much stuff, then you just give me hush. We can sort that out.
The entire fan base. They could probably get away with making one or two fine movies, right?
Yeah, totally.
But all the movies
right now.
Like, my favorite Star Wars movie that came out was Rogue One.
Yeah,
and in the Disney's era, and that's just because of the last 10 minutes of it. The rest of it was fine.
Yeah,
I like Han Solo because I had no expectations.
Yeah.
I ironically like The Last Jedi way more than The Force Awakens because it actually tried new things.
Yeah, I kind of Rogue One did very little for me, and like the last 10 minutes was awesome, but it's like there should have been more moments like this.
Well, like, why didn't you just make a Vader film? Like, okay, they're gonna be like, but Dara, they made 3 Vader films. They're called the prequels. It's like, okay,
no, but he wasn't. He was only Vader for 15 minutes, and even then, like 10 seconds of that was him going, no. Oh God,
That's not what anyone wants.
I love using that as a video comment.
From my perspective, the Jedi are evil. No, fact. That's Bryn's favorite thing for me. Bryn's favorite thing to say to me in work randomly.
Yeah. You know what, Darren? From my perspective, the Jedi. I love that line.
The problem with the prequels is that it's all a meme now at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
The entire thing is a meme.
yeah. There's. I think that the best way to watch them now is with a feature called Riff Tracks. I don't know if you've ever seen or used Riff Tracks, Sarah. But,
No.
Okay, so to explain it is Riff Tracks is done by the guys who created Mystery Science Theater 3000. So if you guys haven't seen it on Netflix or haven't seen any of it at all, basically what these guys used to do for their public access TV show was they would have episodes of the B movies that public access would air, and they would have animated versions of themselves sit down in front of an animated silhouette of them sit down in front of it as if they're in a cinema watching it, and they would just make fun of the film as they're watching it. So they would either change the meaning of dialogue, or they would just comment on what's happening on the scene. And then they started releasing these MP3 files where they would do it for films, good and bad. And they've done it for loads of films. And I think they're really, I personally haven't bought any. I've seen clips of their highlights, but I think one of my friends had a couple that he actually bought. But the idea is that you would then kind of play, they would have say hey, go, it's you have to start the film now, and then it's fully synchronized up, and then the film starts and they start just making fun of the film. The Star Wars episode, the Star Wars films are amazing. I remember seeing this, someone had collected all the times throughout the entire series where they were making fun of Anakin, and it's so funny. So one of the bits in episode 3, when Palpatine comes over to Anakin's burnt and cut up remains on the edge of that of where that lava stream is on
Mustafar? Yeah.
He's hello, I'm looking for someone about your height. Still has his legs, and he's not really a fan of beaches. And then at the beginning of episode 4, when the two droids go down to Tatooine, he's oh, perfect hiding space to get away from Darth Vader. The entire planet's covered in sand. It's so great.
Actually, for anyone who wants a really good interpretation of Vader, the Vader comics are unreal. There was a really good one there. One of the arcs for this year was actually in Vader books, and he was fighting a Sith Lord who waited until he was trapped in Mustafar. Cool. By the locals, because obviously he built his castle in Mustafar and the locals didn't like it, so they arranged a counterattack on the castle, and pretty much Vader had to employ the lava in an explosion to kill everyone, but in doing so he trapped himself in the lava and used up all his energy basically, and then this ancient Sith Lord pops out and goes, alright, let's fight. And it's just unreal. You're oh my god, this is great. And that's why, Bryn, that is making one of my comic recommendations of the year in our year awards, which we shall start now.
So, for the sake of brevity, I actually haven't had a chance to really read that many new comics this year. I'm still just making my way through backlogs upon backlogs of recommendations that friends have made to me throughout the years.
Yeah,
I don't have anything from this current year to recommend.
Okay.
In terms of what I've read, recently, God, where I finally finished the Transmetropolitan series, which is straight up the best comic book series in my opinion that I've ever read. It's just so great. It's so great partially because it's just so different to everything else that's out there. Because your main character is a superhero. He's not he's not a superhero. He's not like he's not really like involved in the fate of the world, saving the world situation. He's a journalist who is a journalist in the 2200s,
Right.
in a world that's not too different from ours, but is also a lot crazier because
Right.
basically the way the world is set up is that pretty much every disease has been a disease that exists today has been cured. So there's no real point in banning anything because you can cure cancer with a pill, so you might as well smoke. You can cure heart disease, so you might as well take amphetamines. You can, the list goes on and on.
Right.
And because of that, the world is really messed up and really interesting. Eventually, the story kicks off when he kind of the story kicks off because he ripped off his book publisher, where they said okay, we gave you the deal was to write 3 books. You wrote 1 and then you disappeared with our money. He was like, we want the other 2 books. So he has to come back to the city where he hates, but it's the only place where he can write. And it's great. It's just so great. It's written by Warren Ellis, who wrote stuff like Planetary and Dead Space. He's awesome.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I was surprised to find out that he did Dead Space, but Warren's done some really interesting books, and he's been a pretty big player for both DC and Marvel in his career. But yeah, the Transmetropolitan series is always going to be one of the first things I recommend to people who are looking for something a little different in comics, because it's not really that often that you get stuff like that comes up. I'll have to actually give it a read.
Yeah. To be honest with you,
one thing to say about it as well was that in the trades, there's there was one forward done by Darren Aronofsky, who he did the Requiem for a Dream film and The Wrestler. And the fact that he was going I really wanted to make a film of this, but I never got around to it. Yeah, because it was around the same time he wanted to do Batman Year One.
Yes.
And Patrick Stewart really wanted to play the character, the main character at one point, and even he wanted to do a voice version of him for an animated series, but they never got past development.
Well, that's unfortunate.
That series of books would make such a good Netflix or Amazon Prime series.
Maybe. You know what? Maybe that might happen.
Yeah, totally.
But what I would say on the comics real quick before we move on, and I think we'll leave the reviews. We'll push them out a week until you get time to see them. Just on that point. So stay tuned, guys. But what we'll do is I would say one of my favorite comic series this year, and people need to read it from a current perspective, is actually the Power Ranger books.
Yep.
And Shattered Grid. Holy crap, guys. Such a great series. And actually, Jason David Frank, who played Tommy in Power Rangers, actually is coming to Dublin City Comic Con this year. So that's going to be amazing as well. So, to get yourself in the mood, maybe read that. Now, I know it sounds like it's a bit different.
Ask him to be the 1 million person to ask him if he's ever going to fight CM Punk.
Really? Does he get asked that a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, he gets asked a lot.
He'd kill him,
yeah.
Here's the thing, he literally is a MMA fighter and also a multiple black belt.
He's a Hall of Famer in MMA.
But he's a multiple black belt and everything. In Power Rangers, he wasn't faking. He actually is a martial artist. Yeah.
But most of them were. None of them were really actors outside of the guys who played Bulk and Skull.
Yeah. Because I'd actually love to see that, because he'd kick Punk's head
clean off.
It would just be gone. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That. Wow. No.
Yeah, it'd be funny.
It would be hilarious. But
Oh,
poor guy.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Punk. Maybe never do that.
Yeah, don't take the fight.
Don't ever take the fight. That's just a bad. You're gonna have a bad time. Yeah.
You're gonna try and pizza when you're supposed to French fry.
And you're gonna have a bad time.
Yep.
Moving ahead. So movie of the year, Bryn. What was it for you?
Movie for the year. Okay, purely based off of what I've seen. I've been kind of racking my brain over all day, and I'm kind of having a hard time coming up with another film outside of Avengers 3.
Okay.
I'm just having a hard time thinking of it. Like, it's the first thing that comes to my head, and nothing else is really entering. So I think by default, that would mean
default.
Won by a count out victory.
Okay, fair enough.
The perfect heel champion.
Right. It's a tough one for me because I've seen a lot of movies this year.
Yeah.
Avengers 3 is up there, obviously, because it's great. But Aquaman.
Gift for you by Aquaman, yeah.
Aquaman, like, it's a movie I didn't think was going to be as good as it is. It's fantastic. The cast is great, made by James Wan, who's holy crap, dude. James Wan's great. The cast is stellar. Well, here's the thing about Avengers 3. Avengers 3 ended on a down note, so I was like, Aquaman was like, yeah, kick his ass. You're like, this is great. To
be fair to Avengers 3, it is the down note before the mega happy uptime that is Avengers 4 happens.
Yeah. So that's the problem. I'm like, guys, it's like I want to like it, but I'm also kind of like, kind of
the way I look at like Avengers 3 is that like it's the Empire Strikes Back feeling that I was craving for years.
From the Marvel movies. Yeah,
because I remember I know we've talked about this over the years for a good bit, where like I think it's kind of because of you get so used to it in wrestling, where you're going, well, the good guys won loads and loads of times, but it'll only get really interesting when he loses. Yeah, and just waiting for it.
You have to get him to chase the belt a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I was kind of going, well, yeah, I really wanted, like, I mean, way back when we were we were coming to the tail end of phase 1, I was like, I really want the next part to be, I want the next Avengers film to be Thanos comes to Earth and wrecks everything, takes over the planet. So like the first film you could do then after that is a Black Panther film where it's like him rebelling and taking back his country.
Yeah. And
that would have been really cool. You kind of got that story, but you know
what? That would have been way better than the Black Panther movie we got.
I think it would have been I enjoyed Black Panther, but I think when you first watch it, it's a really enjoyable film. But then you kind of as you get time away from it, you're like, you know what? Like outside of like little bits and pieces here, it's really not that special film.
I didn't hate it. I really enjoyed Andy Serkis in it, and I really enjoyed
Michael B. Jordan.
Well, he's Killmonger's unreal, but I really enjoyed, and I also enjoyed Martin Freeman's performance in it. Yeah. But T'Challa is awful. He's really boring. He's really boring.
To be fair, T'Challa was never Mr. Personality in the comics either.
No, but it's like I'm more interested. Like I really want Killmonger to win because he's much more interesting than you, and this is like awful. But I thought it was a well-made film. It tried to do a lot. I really wish he had left it in the oven a little bit longer because those CGI effects were awful. So it's just like no.
Like, I think the thing is, like, I really love the first act. I think the first act's great.
Yeah, the first act's really strong. First act's really strong.
And then I don't know what happened. Like the second act just kind of like it just throws elements at you where you're like, oh, okay, so we're going into formula again. Oh, okay, it's you're basically forcing this to be another Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind
Basically,
of
yeah.
which is like, because like this is like the third time in a row. This is the third time they've done this with an action film where it's turned out to be an Iron Man film. What happened with Ant-Man as well.
Yeah, you basically, okay, so for anyone who doesn't know that, that's not the technical term for it is the other. So they fight the bad other. So instead of it being, evil, is Iron Man fights evil Iron Man, right?
Yep.
Hulk fights evil Hulk, right?
Yep.
And it continues. So yeah, it makes sense. But I thought while that still happened, where he fought evil Black Panther, like literally they looked exactly the same, except for the suit was slightly different. But Black Panther looks the same. Like there's no difference in the Black Panther suit.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, maybe they could have taken the helmet off, so you could actually see the guys fighting. It's like when a similar problem can happen with evil Spider-Man. Spider-Man's fighting Spider-Man. You're like, and it's the meme where they're pointing at each other. It's like, which one is which? Because they look exactly the same. It's a problem with the mask, and I think it would have been better. Like, we didn't have that with Iron Man because obviously Ironmonger is way bigger, and Abomination is yellow, so but that was it. It was just they did what they did, and they introduced him, but T'Challa has a lot to prove to me to find him interesting, because I just don't.
Well, I mean,
here's the thing. Well, here's the thing, Brendan. Sorry, the Aquaman movie is everything Thor should have been, and everything Black Panther claimed to be.
Yeah, I can't comment on Aquaman just yet.
No, but I mean it in the sense that the Thor movies. We won't talk about that Abomination. That is the third one. But the first and second one, they should have been this big bombastic space opera and this advanced society where I loved them, but they were Shakespeare in space. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Well, the thing with the first one was that I think the first Thor film is a very safe film, and I think there was because I remember even talking to people where there was the conversation of going, I don't know if the standard audience is going to really accept a Norse god as like a believable character, and doing the kind of fish out of water story is like the safest option to go with. And
I get that. I get that.
I get the rationale of it, but at the same time, it's not really the same thing as doing the space opera. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. But the thing is,
more daring, but it may not have paid off.
Yeah.
It's a risky move here. Let's see if it pays off for him. And
I think they kind of did that with Thor 3, but in the meantime, they caused gross offense. But and it wasn't just to me, Bryn. It was to many people. The internet's a person. But I like the World War Hulk stuff and
Planet Hulk stuff.
Planet Hulk stuff. Sorry,
and Jeff Goldblum's section.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of done ass above face, really, in a lot of ways. But with Aquaman, you can see the kind of threads where it's like, okay, they've achieved that fish out of water. Sorry, pun not intended.
Yeah.
But they achieved that, and they also achieved the Black Panther thing, where it's like, okay, this advanced society that nobody really knows about, that they've kept themselves hidden for this. And it's very, very cool. But they also added in this mad Guardians of the Galaxy section, this Uncharted section where they're hunting treasure across the world. Dude, the movie has everything. It
has a vampire and explosions.
And explosions. It's fantastic. And I had a great time.
One thing I meant to ask you about it was,
go on.
So do you think that the fact that he was established in Justice League helped?
No. Well, they mention it once. They go, "Oh, you fought."
In terms of
Steppenwolf.
The fact there was a decent amount of time taken in that film to explain who Arthur Curry was. Do you think that helped?
I guess so. I don't know. Here's the thing: if you didn't see Justice League, it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, but even if you did see it, it didn't matter.
Yeah, because like it's literally a throwaway line one time.
Yeah.
That's it. But for me, that's the movie of the year. From a nerd perspective, Edge of Spider-Verse is kind of it's up there. But we will talk about that next week because I kind of want to talk about the run of cartoon movies that has come out because there's a lot to talk about. So we will talk about that next week's show. Bryn,
now,
right for you, game of the year.
Game of the year. So, for me, this is it came down to two choices. I can either talk about a game that I loved but played once, or play a game that I really, really enjoyed playing and I haven't really stopped playing since I got it.
So cute.
And that came down to ultimately going with the game that I really enjoy playing, but I haven't really been able to stop playing it since I got it. And that's this is actually a good example of how much I enjoy. I have it on Steam, and I also have it on my PS4, and that's Fire Pro Wrestling World.
Oh, I knew it was going to come to that.
Fire Pro Wrestling World is so great. Like, to give you guys an illustration of how much I enjoy this game, on my Steam record, I think I have it clocked up at nearly 200 hours. I have it clocked up as nearly 200 hours in the near year that I've owned it. So, I try to play it as much as I can, and it's nearly, even still it'll be less than an hour a day. And then I still also have it on my PS4. It's just, as far as wrestling games go, it's the best one available for PS4. It's the best one available. It's the best one available for computers too.
Do you have it for the PS4 or just computer?
Yeah, I have it for both. Because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, and because with the PS4 you get like the New Japan roster as well.
Really? Okay. Because I'm super tempted to get it for the PS4 actually.
Yeah, because you get the New Japan roster, and you get. There's going to be there's a few things coming on the season pass. It hasn't been released yet, but it's going to be like the Fire promoter, so it's going to be like doing GM mode.
Oh, lovely!
Fire Pro Wrestling. So
hey, WWE, maybe do that again. That's a great idea.
No, they have Universe mode, and it's way worse.
Yeah, I hate Universe mode. It sucks.
It's like, how do you make GM mode completely unfun and unplayable? Oh, you make Universe mode. That's how you do it. But Fire Pro Wrestling World is so great. Like it's to kind of explain the difference between how it plays versus the versus WWE games. WWE games are going for much more of like a sim feel, like, because it's published by 2K, it's made by Ukes, but it's kind of going for that sim feel. It wants you to make you feel like you're competing in a wrestling match, whereas in Fire Pro, it's really trying to make you feel like you're working a wrestling match. So there's a lot more of you trying to, like, your match rating goes up and up because of how well competed your match was, rather than you trying to spam your finisher. Yeah. Or it's kind of like in the way, like, if you do the career modes in WWE, they have a star rating thing, but it's not as like rigid as that. It allows you to be expressive, but not at the expense of having a fun, enjoyable match. And it really does open up if you decide that you're going to play the game. If you're going to try to make a match go on for as long as possible without winning, it makes it so much more challenging to win, especially if you play as a character who has who's very technical and tries to go for pinfalls a lot. It makes it so hard to try and hit a goal of having a 30-minute classic. But if you do it, it's so much more enjoyable than any match you would try to have in a WWE game.
And that says it all, really, because when I got the PS4, I bought 2K16 for the Attitude mode, and then I bought 2K18. I played 2K18 for about 4 minutes, and never went back to it.
Yep. I know people have had similar stories where they went like, well, I could play 2K18, but Fire Pro is right here, so I'll play that instead.
Yeah, like you got me Fire Pro for Steam, and it's
I
fantastic.
did. Yeah,
It's really,
I think I got it last Christmas.
yeah, it's really good. I have to say, for anyone who like you'd be thrown off by the graphics, but hey, look, you're not playing for the graphics, you're playing for the gameplay.
Yeah, like graphically, it's not super impressive.
No, it's not. But it's fun.
More than makes so. Like, and one of the really cool things is if you create your own wrestler, not only do you get to create the moveset, not only do you get to create the appearance your guy has, you also get to create how he thinks and how he moves around. So, like, say if you create like 4 or 5 guys, and you're going to play as one of them, it's going to be like a fatal 4-way style match. If you make up your AI properly, that match should go about half an hour. Easy. Yep. Because they're all trying to win, and they all have they're all going to they're going to save their finishers for near the end of the match. They're going to do that kind of thing. And it's so great. It's like the community as well is amazing. You can find them in a couple of different places. If you use it on Steam, they have their workshop as well, so you can actually download community created wrestlers.
Yeah.
We'll also have people who will help you kind of learn how to use logic and all that kind of stuff. And then for everyone, there is the subreddit /FirePro, where again, same deal, and people will help you walk through it, and it is the best fun. So for that, yeah. Otherwise, if I couldn't pick FirePro, it would have been the Spider-Man game.
Oh, that's fair. Well, that's one of my picks for Game of the Year.
Yeah. Oh, Spider-Man's so great.
Like, yeah, it's great. It's the best Spider-Man game ever, and it's the second best Spider-Man story ever told.
Yeah. It put such a smile on my face. Like,
so good. I didn't realize today when you told me that Spider-Man is your favorite superhero.
How?
Well, no, I thought it was Carnage for some reason, and then I'm like, wait, that's not a superhero. I know. I just thought that it was, but now everything makes way more sense. Yeah. It's just like, okay. Actually, no, I thought Deadpool was your favorite, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like, Deadpool is, like, he's fun, but, like... No, like, I mean, I've grown up with, like, you know, when I was really young, Peter Parker was like the older brother I never had.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, who was the, you know, like my imaginary best friend, you know, that's always been my relationship with the character. And yeah, like I love and hate the stories with him. Stuff like One More Day really soured me on his comic.
Yeah. We all have that story, don't we?
Yeah. You know, like, I mean, the Superior Spider-Man stuff was a great idea, but I haven't really gotten back into it. I kind of like dived back into the older stuff. I was like, I reread the crossover comic from like the 90s with him and Miguel.
Oh yeah, oh man,
so great, so great.
So good.
Like the 2099 series as well is just so much fun. Miguel O'Hara is like,
this is why you need to go see Edge of Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
not because Miguel O'Hara is in it or anything, but you know, just in case,
because he is there. Actually, that reminds me. The other day, while we're still talking about Spider-Man, I saw someone walking around with the Ben Reilly hoodie.
Oh, unreal!
And I got so incredibly jealous.
It's like, I hate you so much.
I've needed that hoodie ever since I saw it when I was 7. I'm like,
it's awesome.
It's such a cool hoodie.
But like, I will say, look, the game. I'm actually going to buy the DLC now because I didn't realize it was out. But more DLC came out today, where you can actually buy. You can actually get the Spider-Man 2 Sam Raimi costume.
Yeah,
that's cool. But yeah, like I haven't played a game that consistently, you know, for story-wise in a while. And it was nice to just kind of have that. It's one of the most complete experiences you can have on the PS4. And look, I think you got the PS4 for it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole reason why I got it.
You're not the only one. I know a lot of people who did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But look, aside from that, there's actually a game that is now on Steam. The Steam sale just happened today, or it's happening now.
Yeah.
You can.
It's happening.
It's happening now. It's Jurassic World Evolutions. It's $13. It's €13 now on the Steam sale. I love that game. I play it a lot. It's one of my favorite games ever of all time.
Yeah, I would. I
so I
don't
played a
know
lot.
saying that like you've loved the game to the point where it's almost become an illness for you. You know, like
I can quit any time I want.
if I didn't have this damn disease.
Look, I pretty much stream the entire thing on Twitch. I have like over 120 hours logged, not including the DLC.
Yeah.
I love it. It's such a great game. I'm going to finish the DLC probably over Christmas. And yeah, it's great. It's my game of the year. Now, by no stretch of the imagination, is it the best game? But for me, it's the game I've had the most experience,
It's
most
like a personal thing. Like it's not like it's not like we're saying, "Oh, this is the best game that came out this year." We haven't even played most of the games that came out this year.
Yeah, dude, I've bought a lot of games this year, but sitting in the package, like, I will say the updates to Battlefield 2, or sorry, Battlefront 2 are very good. They actually made the game in the Clone Wars now
Usable.
Yeah, it's very fun. What else? Injustice 2, very good.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that.
I just love the fighting system in those games.
Soul Calibur 6 for fighting games is phenomenal, and of course Guilty Gear as well, also phenomenal. Kingdom Come, very, very good game, very difficult game. Holy cow, is that a difficult game?
Yeah, well, they were going for historical accuracy, so I imagine like it's very hard to not get dysentery.
Yeah, like it's so on point that if your clothes are dirty and you try to talk to someone, they won't talk to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. Sonic Mania that came out last year, but the actual physical box copy came out this year. Yeah. Super fun. And just to round it out, Persona 5 as well, if you're into some weeby goodness. Persona 5.
Goodness.
Persona 5 is great. But yeah, like for me, they would be the rundown of the games to pick up this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so favorite con of the year? As in convention.
Favorite con of the year? DCC, hands down.
Yeah, DCC. Like I spent a lot
out of the bag this year.
I spent a lot of time at cons this year. Not only for the show, but just
in general.
Just in general. So I've actually had a bit of, I got to experience a lot of different cons this year. DCC is the premier con in Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it because it's so close. It's just they have absolutely... They know what they're doing. It's out of the park. It's just great. For an overall family experience or even a nerd experience, going to it, the guests, all that kind of stuff is fantastic. However, I do have to give an honorable mention to KazukaCon, which is in Cork. Yeah. That's in the university there. It's much smaller, but has a lovely feeling, a lovely family feeling in it.
That's great.
So I would say
those
if you want them there.
Offshoot community cons are they're so special when they pop up.
Yeah,
and they kind of it's not the best thing to say about them, but you don't really know how often they're going to happen, or if you're going to get the chance to go to them again. So you really have to kind of savor them when you're there because they're so great, but because they're just they feel very rare. Yeah. Which is awesome, but they're because of it can be such a positive experience. I remember when the first times I went to Erdicon, there was that kind of a feel about it too, where you didn't really know what it was going to be. You didn't really know how far it was going to go in terms of its lifespan. And like Erdicon eventually did grow into a huge con, but then it just kind of. Yeah, don't know why they stopped doing it, but they did, and it's a shame.
Well, it's been replaced now with JCon. Yeah. And there's a lot of other conventions as well. It seems like now we're not reaching saturation point, but it's something that's a lot more mainstream now. Yeah. So expect us to start covering it.
Family event,
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's if you're not able to get up here for DCC, and now there's 2 DCCs running, so there's the summer and winter one as well, or summer and spring one. Yeah. So it's
kind of like the Olympics except more frequent.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, if you're out in the country, there's the one in Waterford which we didn't get to go to, but definitely have a look around and try to connect with your local nerd community, because there's a lot of good things to be had there. Even if you're a cosplayer and you just want to meet new cosplayers, we have an amazing cosplayer scene in Ireland now. If you're a comic book nerd, you can go and get comics. If you're a gaming nerd, so many gaming conventions now as well that cater specifically for that. Yeah. So, I think 2019 will be a good year as well in that sense, but, have to hand it to DCC. Absolutely no competition in that sense, but KazokuCon would be a close second from a personal standpoint. All right, Bryn, and I think that is going to be us for episode 15 of the show. So look, this is kind of a two-parter, guys, because we're going to come back and do some reviews.
We have a few more awards to go.
We do.
Too.
Yeah, so it's going to be a review and part 2 of the award show. So if we don't get that out before Christmas, we'll get it out before the New Year, because this one's going to go out before Christmas. So yeah, definitely will be before New Year, and then we'll be back to normal on our regular slot. So guys, remember, we are on iTunes. We're on Spotify. You can go over to SoundCloud now and get the RSS feed directly from there. Nerd to Know Media is where all these shows are, where our interviews are, our offshoots, all that kind of stuff. Bryn's going to be public content up there itself. All that stuff is going to get way more crazy. We're also working on building on a website soon.
Yep.
So that's coming as well. It all just needs to be a bit more time to dot the I's and cross the T's. But, going into 2019, it's going to be a pretty big year for us.
Yeah. One other thing to add on as well is that there's a chance we're going to be doing a bit more collaboration with our good friends over at geeksoftheindustry.com in the next year.
Yeah.
And it's always just worth mentioning their shows because they have so much content and so many great shows.
Let's run through them, Bryn. What ones would you recommend?
So, what I recommend, Mega Powers Radio is pretty much the best wrestling show, in my opinion, going right now. The guys from there, Larry, Ree, and MSR, are unreal. They've been doing it for years, and it's it's seriously worth listening to. There's Geeks of the Industry, the Geeks of the Industry podcast itself, where it's Larry and his wife Loka, and I think that's her name. I haven't had a chance to listen to it in a while. It's just them talking about it, all things geeky. And then they've got a whole litany of horror themed podcasts, Elm Street Radio and Creature Features podcast, among two or three others. They've really gone down the horror movie route in the last couple of years, but it's allowed them to be very, very successful in what they do. For those kind of things, that's definitely where you check them out. That's definitely we're checking them out. geeksoftheindustry.com. You can get them on iTunes, Stitcher, and just about anywhere else where good podcasts are found outside of Spotify.
Cool. Very cool. And obviously as that develops, we'll be talking about it. But for my plugs, again, go over to Spotify, iTunes, and leave us a review on iTunes. That helps us a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to reach us on Twitter, probably the best way to reach us. You can do so on Facebook as well. So on Twitter, it's nerd2, the number 2, no 92.5. And we'll be announcing all that kind